game will ever be the same, same. Gon' turn up the game, we gon' turn up the game, change. Gon' turn up the game, we gon' turn up the game, change. Gon' turn up the game, we gon' turn up the game, change. Gon' turn up the game, we gon' turn up the game, change.
Hey Game Changers, we are here with another episode. It's me, Siobhan Elise, and I have a very special guest, Miss Chantale Stewart. How you doing, girl?
Hi, I'm doing good. Hello, everyone.
All right, so today, this episode is for all my truckers, all of my trucker enthusiasts out here. She owns 208 Pioneers Transport, and we're going to get the inside scoop on what it's like to actually be in the trucking industry. I've been hearing so much buzz about this thing, like the money. I've been hearing, financial freedom. And I've also been seeing like a lot of girlies create full brands around being like trucking influencers. So one thing that I found that was really interesting, one of these influencers gained some popularity because she was sharing her story about a like negative experience she had on the road, where she stopped at a truck stop and she felt like this man was, going to harm her. Luckily, her husband was in the back. When he got out, the man kind of ran off. But like, just putting the money aside, thinking about how dangerous it is on the road, like, is that something that you've ever experienced for yourself?
Honestly, I haven't experienced that for myself, but I can understand where that young woman is coming from, especially in a male-dominated industry. It can be scary at times, especially when you're at a truck stop parking or at a rest area by yourself and you need to get out to use the restroom or maybe get something to eat. It can be very, your anxiety level can go up. You're like, okay, I need to have some form of weapon on me just in case someone try to, kidnap me, or they couldn't want to do anything to you. They see a pretty young little woman.
Right, and then, they be on the road a long time.
Yes.
They ain't seen nothing like this.
Exactly. So. And with my husband, we're in the process of making sure I have some form of weapon when I'm going out with me.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. It's funny that I didn't think of it because, I get all my news on trucking from TikTok, sorry. And they're just talking about the money. And so sometimes, you don't necessarily think about the logistics of it. So I'm so happy that we have you on here today to bring it down to size. So for those who are interested in it, who are ready to take action, they can walk away from this episode a little bit more prepared.
Okay, my pleasure.
Yeah, so tell me about your background. Did you have any experience in trucking, or what inspired this endeavor?
I can definitely tell you I had no experience in trucking, none whatsoever. Okay. What inspired me, I'll give you the background history of it. First, I started in social work with the Department of Children and Families. That was my favorite.
I like how you said that.
That was my favorite because I loved helping people. So after sitting at the desk for a while, I'm like, okay, it has to be more that I want to do. Mm-hmm. So in all of my jobs that I've been to, I've always been the one to train the workers. And I was like, okay, I like training people. I like teaching people. So let me try teaching. Mm-hmm. So I went back to school, got a certificate in elementary education. Mm-hmm. But once I was finished, I did my internship. I did everything to go back to school to be a teacher. And I finally got hired at this elementary school, and I was like, this is not for me. I hated it.
No, not after all of that.
Oh my God, what am I going to do now? What is my purpose? And I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? Yeah. So after I did teaching for a month. I know most people was like, why didn't you pursue it? But I did not like it. I wasn't able to teach how I thought I would be teaching. I was basically disciplining. And the kids were so disrespectful. My own kids don't even disrespect me at the level the kids were disrespecting the teachers in the classroom. So after that, I went through some therapy. We can come back to that if you like.
Okay.
I went through some therapy, some counseling, and then I realized I had to be doing more. So I always knew I was like the entrepreneur mindset type. So I was like, okay. My husband was like, oh, I want to do trucking. And I was like, I don't know about trucking. That's a man's job. I don't want to do that. But after researching, I was like, hey, I might like this. And he was like, we will definitely need a driver. I was like, I'm not driving no big old 18-wheeler truck. But I went to school to get my CDL license, and I actually loved it. I started liking it. I was like, it was a challenge for me. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to do this. So once I started driving, I got my experience, and I went to this like mom and pop's company that hired me, fortunately. And then I got like 3 to 4 months of experience. And then my husband was like, well, we should start our own business soon. I was like, yeah, I like that idea. But I didn't think we were going to start as soon as we did. So about 3 or 4 months after my experience with the company, I got my own truck, and we started and we went on the road.
Talk about game-changing moves, okay? That happened fast.
It did.
Wow. So that's a big shift.
It is.
From social work to education to driving trucks. Like, first of all, that was my first question when she got here, y'all. I'm like, you drive trucks because she's so cute. She's so pretty and
That's
little.
most people's reaction. It was like, they see me get out, they was like, you're not driving that truck, are you? Someone else has to be in there with you. I was like,
whipping
that's
it.
me.
Oh my God. So like, take me back to when, after you went through all of that to become an educator and you got in school and you hated it. To become an educator and you got in school and you hated it. Take me back to that moment where, because you mentioned there was some therapy involved. Was it during that time where you was in like crisis mode? Like, wait a minute, God. So when you went to school and got into the classroom and hated it, like, what was it about that experience that like pushed you into this soul searching mode?
Okay, so I realized that I did not like teaching at all. Well, look, the kids, elementary age anyways. After that, I went through like this whole depression stage, and I'm like, what, God, what is going on? Like, I was in the bed every day, laying down. All I want to do is sleep and eat. And my husband was like, no, you got to get up. This is not you. So I realized it was something wrong mentally. So I looked for a psychologist on psychologytoday.com.
Okay.
That's a great resource if you want to find a therapist or a counselor. So I went on there. I was able to find this young lady by the name of Miss Kimball.
Okay.
And she was the best. She took me through a series of steps to let me know to help me find out what was wrong with me. Because she didn't give me the advice. All I was doing was answering the questions that I know within myself, but I didn't want to acknowledge. So after going through the therapy, I realized there was some negative thinking. I had a negative mindset, and it was just based off my environment, my household, what I grew up in. And she taught me how to take those negative thoughts captive. You know, we read about it, taking those strongholds captive, but did we really understand what it means
how to integrate that? Yeah,
exactly.
That's powerful.
So the biggest question she would ask me that helped a lot, she was like, for example, my fear was talking in front of people. I did not like talking in front of people. So public speaking, she was like, okay, so take that, what you have, what is the negative thing that you think about public speaking? That I'm going to mess up, that I'm going to, forget my words or what I'm going to say. And she's like, tell me why that's not true. I'm like, what do you mean? It is true. In my mind, in my mind it's true. She's like, no, like, tell me why it's not true. I was like, okay, because I've talked in front of a crowd before. She was like, exactly. Okay. So every negative thought that I had, she would tell me why that's not true. And that stayed with me because I still do it today. If I start to feel those anxiety or the panic attack, when your palms start sweating and your chest start beating. Girl. She was like, tell me why that's not true. So that stuck with me. Wow. So also with her, I realized that I needed to discipline myself. I would start projects but didn't finish it, which explains why I went from one career to the next, to the next. And God was also showing me that during this season, I'm going to accelerate you, but you're going to have to discipline yourself. You're going to have to learn perseverance. And I was like, I don't know what that is, perseverance. So after starting this trucking business, I realized, okay, there's some hard times, but I'm going to persevere. I'm going to get through it. And trucking industry, it will humble you for sure. It will humble you. And I can honestly say any entrepreneurship that you do, it will humble you. You have to be disciplined in order to make the business work.
Because I think that when we think about entrepreneurship, or at least when I thought about entrepreneurship, I thought about the glitz, the glam, and I thought about the practicality of the business. And I'm like, okay, well, from where I can see, I think I can do this, right? But when you actually like get skin in the game and you're going through that day to day and you don't know what to expect, you're not really prepared for it, like personal development, mental health plays a big part in whether you're going to overcome that or you're going to quit.
Exactly.
And that's why we created this space for, you know, people who are up and coming or people who are established and looking to evolve, is to, you know, really see value in that personal development. Really see value in having these conversations surrounding, okay, what roadblocks are happening within me internally that's stopping me from doing what God has told me I'm capable of, what I know that I'm capable of. Like, we have to get really, really honest with ourselves and be willing to do the work. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you for really taking that moment of discomfort, even after you had invested into becoming one thing. Like, that took real guts to say, nah, this is not enough. I'm not going to settle.
Exactly.
And I'm going to do whatever I need to get to that next level. And I think that, in a nutshell, is entrepreneurship.
It definitely is. And I also want to add, when you become an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to problem solve. Like, I was so used to, like, I was the only child. I was so used to my mom making decisions for me. And I had to learn that you have to learn how to problem solve in order to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And you said something about, you know, you've realized that your issue was that there was a lot of negative self-talk or limiting beliefs. And it just came from the environment, which I can relate to. I think many of us can relate to. Being people of color, you know, I grew up in a middle-class home, and it was like, okay, we have just enough. So there was always like this fear of, if you do too much, you might lose it all, right? So there was not, I wasn't raised to really question things or take risks or challenge myself. I was more so raised like, okay, this is what worked for me. This is what you need to do to make it work for you too. And so what that created was like growth. I won't even call it growth, like stability. But it didn't really create growth because it's like, okay, things or take risks or challenge myself. I was more so raised like, okay, this is what worked for me. This is what you need to do to make it work for you too. And so what that created was like growth. I won't even call it growth, like stability. But it didn't really create growth because it's like, okay, where is the challenge? Where is me using this foundation as a stepping stone rather than just hanging on the line, you know? So I really applaud anyone who's bold enough to, you know, fall on their face and make those mistakes if it comes to stepping up to that next level.
Exactly. I totally agree, and I definitely can relate.
Yeah. So you said challenges in trucking. So I don't know much about trucking, but when I heard you were coming on, I did do a little research, and I found something really interesting. So apparently there's this company, a robotics company called Starsky something. And they're out in San Francisco, and they're doing something really interesting. They are creating driverless trucks, because I know that one of the major challenges that many truckers are facing in the industry, or business owners rather, is a shortage in drivers. Some are 50,000 drivers short, right?
Right.
And that's largely been due to the growing demand with new trucking companies coming about. The driver salaries are being cut, and you know, it's a hard job. So people are not willing to do it for $60,000, which is what they're offering.
Yes.
So this company has partnered with a few smaller trucking companies to provide these trucks that are basically running their own. And the concept is to make truck driving a remote job. And I love a remote job. Love it. So instead of just depending on one or two drivers to handle one truck, they're saying that one driver can operate several trucks up to 500 miles away. So that's saving a lot of money, saving a lot of stress. Like, what are your thoughts on that, being in the industry?
Yes. It sounds interesting and it sounds cool for, the automated system to take over the trucks. But being in the trucking industry and seeing it day to day, I realize it's very dangerous. And safety is the number one concern. We have inspections yearly for the truck itself, and for even the driver themselves, they have to get a physical to make sure they're in good health to be able to drive. So when I hear about automated trucks, I definitely don't agree with it because anything can go wrong. You need to be alert and have a sober mind when you're driving.
Right. That's a good point. I mean, from the outside looking in, it's always like, okay, what's best for the bottom line? But you made a really compelling point that this is actually a dangerous job. These are huge trucks. They're on the interstate, and one false move could literally cost someone their life.
Exactly. So
that
just to leave this thought with some people, they had the fuel trucks, right? Can you imagine an automated system driving your fuel truck? Just think about it.
It would be a little scary.
That's like a ticking bomb. I know you have the driver themselves driving the fuel tank, but a robot basically driving a fuel tank or any hazmat material, which is like the chemicals and things of that nature.
It's a scary world because I think AI is going to be integrated in a lot of, these everyday roles. And, if anyone who uses a computer knows how technology can just glitch and go wrong sometimes.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. It's just something that I think we should all prepare for. Because even if, you don't decide to bring that into your business, there may be some on the road. And, so I wonder, what does that preparation look like for other drivers? Dealing with those automated trucks, here you go,
Exactly. I definitely think there's a lot of testing that needs to go into it. If it does come, you're right, we have to prepare, but we don't have to agree.
Right.
The majority rules.
Yeah. So, on the flip side of the automated driverless trucks, while it may be good profit-wise, dangerous for the pedestrians and other drivers, it's also putting a lot of truck drivers at a loss. And my dad, ironically, was a truck driver for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Did he enjoy it?
I think he did. He did it for a long time. Because, you really didn't have to deal with too many people. It was just here you go. And he didn't really go across the country. He stayed within South Florida.
Local.
So he didn't have to, do the overnight stuff too much. I would say he enjoyed it, and it definitely afforded us a really good life. Thank you, Daddy. But just being the daughter of a trucker, that would really impact us if, Dad had lost his job for something like that. So how do you think companies like yourself could negate that and maybe repurpose those drivers in other aspects of the company because they have the experience?
They do have the experience. So if we were to replace the driver, there's many different positions that they can also do. The industry is so big, we need people to dispatch the truck.
Okay.
You have the automated system, but you need someone to dispatch the truck.
Right. Okay.
You need someone to do the paperwork that goes with trucking, all the invoices, the bill of ladings for the truck. So if we were to replace the driver, there's many different positions that they can also do. The industry is so big, we need people to dispatch the truck.
Okay.
you have the automated system, but you need someone to dispatch the truck.
Right. Okay.
You need someone to do the paperwork that goes with trucking, all the invoices, the bill of ladings for the truckers. They know that language. The finances, the accounting part of it.
It sounds like a lot.
It is a lot.
TikTok did not tell us this much, guys. Okay, so we're going to go in for the kill. I want to know really quick, how do you start a trucking company? Like, what are the steps?
Okay, first, you need to start your business with, you can have an LLC or a corporation if you choose. I chose the LLC route. Once you create your LLC, you need to get a business account.
Okay.
Once you get your business account, you need your EIN number. Once you have your EIN number, you're just about ready to start, but you also need a physical address. A lot of people say they want the virtual address, but I tend to see that that's going away. So you need a physical address. Also, after you form your business, then you will need to start doing your research. I would definitely say do your research and get some experience before you enter the trucking industry. It is a beast. It's very challenging, but if you put your mind to it, you definitely can do it. Once you do your research, I encourage you to get a truck if you would like. You don't have to get a truck. You don't have to be an owner-operator like I am. You can dispatch the trucks. You can also be an accountant for the trucking industry. You can have an authority, meaning you're able to have owner-operators run under your authority. So you can be the boss, and have the authority, and then have other truck drivers run under your authority.
So here I am thinking that you just start a business, buy the truck, and get on the road.
No, it's
and
not
that's
that simple.
not that simple.
It is definitely not.
Okay. Okay, so let's
you
say
can do it that way, but it's going to be very challenging.
So, being that you got some skin in the game, if you had to do it again, would you make the same steps you did, or would you do it differently?
I would definitely get more experience and look for a mentor. When you're doing the trucking industry, something at that magnitude, you definitely need a mentor, because I'm gaining the experience, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of hiccups that I could have avoided if I had a mentor in my life. But I'm loving it so far. It's definitely teaching me a lot.
That's amazing. That is amazing. So for those who, want to be owner operators, what do the startup costs look like if you wanted to start that business going in with your own truck?
Okay, I would definitely say have about 6 months of expenses saved up. So $100,000+ in your savings before you. I know there's funding, but it's hard to get funding for the trucking industry because it's such a high liability.
Really?
Yes, it is.
So don't bank on anybody else's money. You want to really.
I know they say use other people's money, but I would suggest saving. Use your job that you have to fund your business. Okay.
So you say at least $100,000. Bam. Okay, we got that. So once you get the funds, how would someone allocate those funds?
You definitely need funds to buy the truck. It doesn't have to be a new fancy truck. You can buy a used truck. Especially now, the truck prices are they're decreasing, which is good. You're going to need funds for maintenance. Definitely maintenance. There's always something breaking down on the truck.
Really?
So you definitely need a maintenance fund. And then funds to pay yourself or to pay that driver.
Okay.
And then you also, your profit as well.
All right, so enough about spending money. How do you get these contracts? Because that's really always been it for me. I'm like, how do people just get trucking companies? Like, who are they trucking for? Like, how does that process work?
Well, a lot of the trucking companies, they're either going to be on the load board, which is it's like a portal that you go on and you talk to a broker. You call up the broker and say, you negotiate for that load. That's where a lot of the truckers get their freight or loads from, which is basically the leftovers. And then you also have the government contracts, and then you can have private contracts as well, like with a mom and pops. And that's what I have. Thankfully, I was able to get that. Most people say, how did you get a contract just starting out? But I say I give God all the glory and the praise.
Listen, sometimes while we just wandering around, he already got it ready for us. All we got to do is step into it.
Exactly.
That is amazing.
It is. He said, take one step. I'll take one step. You take one step. You take one step. I'll take one step. So that's, to me, that was teaching me faith. It definitely helped me increase in my faith. Like, we have an idea, we think it's our idea, but it's a God idea that he implanted inside of us, and we just have to take the action.
Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. It's so funny because last episode we just released it on our YouTube channel was all about overcoming self-doubt. And I wanted that to be our first episode because
it was teaching me faith. It definitely helped me increase in my faith. Like, we have an idea, we think it's our idea, but it's a God idea that he implanted inside of us, and we just have to take the action.
Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. It's so funny because last episode we just released it on our YouTube channel was all about overcoming self-doubt. And I wanted that to be our first episode because when we think about entrepreneurship and we have these ideas, all of us get really big ideas. And sometimes if, we were not raised to think big with confidence, that self-doubt just eats it up. Eats it up. And we find ourselves settling for safe. And like when you settle for safe, it's like, it's never enough. People do it. I don't recommend it. But if we just like do that work like you did to go to therapy, like look what's on the other side. Like how long did it take from, let's say, getting your CDL license to getting your first contract? Like how long was that process?
I'm thinking about it. I'm just so amazed because I never really sat back and thought about it. But I went to school to get my CDL. That was around summer of 2021. No, 2022. And now it's 2023. I didn't realize it. So almost a year. Within a year, I was able to get my CDL, go gain the experience from a small mom and pop's company, and then buy my own truck and get the contract.
Wow. A lot can happen in a year, boy. Woo! I feel a whole lot smarter. Thank you. Thank you. So, for those of you who are interested in trucking, we got some real gems from Miss Chantale today. First of all, do your research, get some experience.
Yes, that's key.
If you have a mentor, it's definitely worth investing in. It will make the process a lot smoother. And also, like, get over yourself. Be honest with what's holding you back and, like, do whatever you need to do to overcome those things because that blessing is ready for you, okay?
It is.
So, okay, on the personal side, like, how much time do you spend on the road? I know you're a mom, you're a wife. Like, what does that look like in real time?
In real time, it's a lot of sacrificing. I know the first question people ask me when they see me on the road, I'm local now. Like, I just go up to Palm Beach area.
Okay.
But before I was going to about Georgia area or maybe Orlando, Jacksonville, in the North Florida area. And I had to stay out a couple of nights. And I didn't like it because I miss my babies. But on a day-to-day basis now that we got the contract, I'm able to come right back home and spend time with them. But it is a sacrifice. But if you have a goal, you do have to make a sacrifice.
Yeah, it definitely seems worth it, like for sure. So you mentioned some of the other roles that are associated with trucking, like accounting, dispatching, all of those things. So do you have a team that's helping you with that? So it's just you and your husband?
Yes, it's just me and my husband. Starting out, the trucking industry can be very expensive if you allow it to be. Like I mentioned, maintenance is the number one expense. Of course, your truck payments or insurance, definitely, especially in Florida, insurance is very expensive. But you definitely got to put things in place.
Okay, so listen, we getting out the mud today with 208 Pioneer Transport. Listen, where can we find you? Like, how can we connect with you?
Okay, on Instagram, IG, you can find me at 208_Pioneers with an S _transport.
All right now. So all my entrepreneurs out there, if y'all need a load, we got you, okay? Make sure y'all connect with Chantale. Also, I mean, if anyone has questions, would you be open to maybe?
I'm definitely open. I want to be an inspiration or an encouragement to others that I don't have in the industry. I'm always willing to, look for a mentor.
Yeah.
But mentorship these days, it's definitely not free.
No, it's not.
It come with a price tag.
They send that price right away. I got a package for you. I'm like, what about each one? Teach one.
Exactly.
But no, that's dope. And I'm big on mentorship too. I wasn't really fortunate to find one mentor, but I always make a point to learn from everyone that I'm surrounded by. I think we can all learn from each other. And I'm so happy that you're open to share, your experience with anyone who needs it. So y'all don't be shy. Ask those questions. It is possible. Get out of your own way. All right. So those are all the questions I have today. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? I wasn't expecting that.
I do have a question. So, I know before you used to do beauty or skincare. Tell me more about that.
Okay. Like tell you about how the business was?
Yes.
Okay. So, I started off as a makeup artist because it was just something that came to me. All the women in my family were just divas. And my mom did hair. We were just always into it. So, I knew how to do makeup since I was a young girl. I did hair in school. It came natural. And I'm a really creative person. And I always wanted to have a career that I loved, doing something that was true to me, right? So I started off as a makeup artist because it was just something that came to me. All the women in my family were just divas. And my mom did hair. We were just always into it. So I knew how to do makeup since I was a young girl. I did hair in school. It came natural. And I'm a really creative person. And I always wanted to have a career that I loved, doing something that was true to me, right? So when I got the opportunity to start my own business, it was only natural to start with makeup artistry.
Awesome.
And I started in St. Petersburg. I was working at a salon. Funny enough, I started managing the salons, and then I would learn how to do makeup on the side. So I learned a lot about the business aspect from working for small businesses. Through that, I was like, it was a small town. I wanted to expand my demographic. I was from Miami, so I moved back down here to do that. And I was also still managing, and I started working at spas at the Satai down here in Miami, Icon Brickell. Still getting into that business aspect of it, but also leaning into the services. So while I was working at the spa, I left to go to school to become an esthetician because I needed an esthetician's license to be able to legally do makeup.
Exactly.
And I fell in love with skincare. It was like a time where I was really going through some changes. I was 24 years old. I had just changed my whole life, and I needed to really get to know who I was in that season. And when I went to school for aesthetics and learned about the skin and spa and all that, it gave me that space to, get to know myself and get to know God and get to know the version of God, the version of me that God saw for me, right?
Exactly.
And I was just so in love with that whole energy that I wanted to share that. And I always felt like makeup was really fun, and it was something that's always popular here. But growing up in Miami, things were so superficial. I felt like we really needed to step into that deeper side of self-care to get to know who we are as a person beyond the beauty. So that's when I started Delphin Beauty Spa.
You still do it?
No.
Why? What happened?
So honestly, what happened was similar to you with teaching. I did it for about 5 years, and it did really well. I was actually in this area, but I felt restricted.
Okay.
I felt restricted because, again, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, you're constantly growing and developing. Because even though it was a beauty and wellness company, I didn't get to show up and just do services. We have to do everything. And through doing all those different roles, I realized that what I really wanted to do was create like authentic conversations to kind of gauge and direct people towards their path, and just overall encourage people and support people to live a healthy life that supports their dreams.
And that's what birthed the podcast.
And that was what birthed the podcast. And then, you know, I had met so many entrepreneurs from the business. It was just like, hey y'all, you know, I'm doing this now. Let's support each other. Let's support up and coming entrepreneurs together, because I think that there was more of a need for this in this season than it was for beauty.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we definitely still need self-care. So I hope you still do it on the side make that your side hustle.
I have my private clients, and if someone asks me, of course I still do makeup, not the facials anymore. But this is my new version of self-care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
That was a good question, girl. I'm sorry for the long answer, but y'all get it. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing, and, you know, really getting us to that next level in our entrepreneurial journey. Again, the reoccurring theme of faith, being connected with God, that is the source. If you want to build something that's true, that's healthy, and that can stand the test of time, we always recommend that here on Game Changers. So for you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have not already subscribed to our channel, go ahead and do so and click that notification button so you are the first to know when we drop new content. And again, before we go, special thanks to our sponsors here at Boss Nation Network. Thank y'all for just, you know, really creating a space for entrepreneurs to shine and thrive like we are doing here today.
Yes.
So y'all be blessed. Have a good night.